I never imagined it would come to this. 3 months behind on rent, with no way to pay, and no one to turn to. I was cornered. My small apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage, its peeling wallpaper and creaky floors, a constant reminder of my unravelling life. When my landlord James Lawson knocked on my door that evening, I knew I had run out of options. He made me an offer. One I should have refused, but didn't. Life hadn't always been this way. 2 years ago, Emma Carter was a junior graphic designer at a mid-sized firm, optimistic about my career and future. I had dreams of launching my own freelance business, designing vibrant logos and sleek websites for clients across the city. But then the layoffs came. My company downsized, and I was among the first to go. The job market was brutal, and the freelance gigs I managed to scrape together barely covered my bills. Savings dwindled, debts piled up, and the rent for my modest one-bedroom apartment became an insurmountable burden. Friends drifted away unable to help, and my family was too far both geographically and emotionally to offer support. I was alone, sinking deeper into a hole I couldn't climb out of. That evening I flinched at the knock. My robe had slipped open, exposing my bare thigh, but I was too exhausted to care. I shuffled to the door, my bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. When I opened it, James Lawson stood there, his eyes lingering on me, slow and deliberate. He was in his late 40s, tall and broad-shouldered with a polished demeanour that always made me feel small. His dark suit was immaculate, a stark contrast to my dishevelled state. "You're 3 months behind on rent." "Emma," he said, his voice calm but firm. I pulled my robe tighter, the thin fabric doing little to shield me from his gaze. "I know, Mr. Lawson. I just need more time." He stepped inside without invitation, closing the door behind him. The air thickened the faint scent of his cologne, mingling with the stale odour of my unwashed dishes. His gaze remained fixed on me, unyielding. "Shame to see a woman like you struggling," he murmured, his voice smooth, almost sympathetic. So beautiful yet so helpless. Heat crept up my skin, a mix of shame and unease. "I'll figure something out," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He sighed, shaking his head as if disappointed. "Time doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart." The word grated on me, patronising and intimate in a way that made my stomach churn. I had tried everything. Extra shifts at a local cafe, borrowing from loan apps that charged predatory interest, cutting back on groceries until I was living on instant noodles. Nothing was enough. "Please, just a little longer," I pleaded, hating how desperate I sounded. He studied me for a long moment, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing a decision. Then he said, "Or maybe there's another way." My stomach tightened. There it was, the unspoken offer now laid bare in the dim light of my living room. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I already knew. The air felt heavier, the walls closing in. "Come on, Emma. You know what I mean." The room seemed to shrink, my robe feeling thinner, more exposing. "No one has to know, just between us." I hesitated, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it. He smirked, watching me squirm, his confidence unnerving. "I can make your problems disappear." I exhaled shakily, my mind racing. No choices, no way out. Just him standing there with an offer that dangled both salvation and shame. I had always prided myself on my independence, on clawing my way through life without compromising my principles. But principles don't pay rent, and hunger doesn't respect pride. Slowly, I nodded the motion, feeling like a betrayal of the woman I used to be. His smile deepened, predatory, yet triumphant, and he reached for the belt of my robe. "Good girl," he said the words, slithering over my skin. "James." Lawson led me to the bedroom, his grip firm but unhurried, as if savouring the moment. The air felt thick, pressing against my skin as I stepped inside. The scent of his aftershave, masculine and overpowering, filled my senses, mingling with the faint mustiness of my unmade bed. My bedroom was sparse, a mattress on a cheap frame, a rickety nightstand and a single lamp casting long shadows across the walls. Standing at the edge of the bed, he undid his belt with a slow, deliberate motion. The soft clink of metal sent a shiver through me, a reminder of the line I was crossing. "You know what to do," he said, his voice low, expectant. A lump formed in my throat. I hesitated, my fingers tightening into fists at my sides. His lips curved into a mix of amusement and control, his eyes never leaving mine. "Don't act so surprised. Emma, you agreed? Remember?" A nervous warmth curled in my stomach, a confusing mix of dread and something else I didn't want to name. I swallowed hard, then lowered myself to my knees, the hardwood floor cold against my skin. His fingers threaded through my hair as I leaned in his heat and scent, overwhelming. I pressed my lips against him, moving carefully, my movements mechanical at first. He exhaled sharply, his grip tightening slightly, guiding me with subtle pressure. The sounds he made sent an unexpected thrill through me. I shouldn't have liked it, but I did. His breathing deepened, his posture tensing, and a strange sense of control stirred inside me. For the first time in months, I wasn't just a victim of circumstance. I was making him react, shaping this moment, just as I found my rhythm. He pulled away, abruptly, his breathing uneven, his eyes dark with need. "Get on top," he said, his voice thick, almost desperate. I obeyed, standing and moving onto the bed, my robe slipping open as I straddled him. His hands found my thighs, sliding up my skin, squeezing as if he needed to feel every inch of me. "That's it," he murmured, his eyes locked on mine, intense and unyielding. I reached down, aligning myself with him. A sharp gasp escaped my lips as I sank onto him, the sensation overwhelming. He groaned, his fingers pressing into my hips. "You feel better than I imagined." I tried to ignore the warmth his words sparked in me. This was just a deal, a transaction to keep a roof over my head. But as I began to move, a pulse of pleasure rippled through me, unbidden and undeniable. My body betrayed me, responding eagerly, craving more. I bit my lip, keeping my expression neutral, but inside, heat, coiled, spreading with every movement. "Go on, Emma, ride me, like you mean it," he said, his voice strained, his grip firm as he guided my hips. I quickened my pace, my breathing uneven, each motion sending another wave of sensation through me. It was harder to pretend I wasn't enjoying this, harder to silence the part of me that wanted more. He smirked up at me as if he could see through my carefully constructed facade. "You like this," he murmured, his tone teasing, knowing. "No," I lied. my breath hitching as I moved faster. His grip tightened, his body rising to meet mine in perfect rhythm. The tension between us grew deeper, heavier. A current I couldn't escape. I clenched my jaw, desperate to hold back any sound that might betray me. "Keep going," he growled, his control slipping, his eyes never leaving mine. I dug my nails into his chest, holding on as his pleasure built inside me, threatening to spill over. His breath hitched his body, tensing beneath me. With a final shudder, he exhaled, his hands locking me in place as he reached his peak. I followed. Seconds later, my body trembling from the intensity. I swallowed, my moans, keeping my expression unreadable as I collapsed onto him, my body still humming with aftershocks. For a moment, we lay there, our breathing heavy skin damp and warm. Then I moved off him, sitting at the edge of the bed, my hands trembling as I pulled my robe around me. It did little to cover what had been seen, what had been done. I didn't speak, but deep down, I knew the truth. I had enjoyed every second of it, and so had he. His eyes were on me, watching, waiting. "You surprised me, Emma," he said, his voice smooth, amused. "Didn't expect you to enjoy yourself that much." I ignored the heat flickering in my stomach, the shame and thrill warring within me. "It was just a deal," I murmured, my voice barely audible. He chuckled, a low, knowing sound. "Sure, if that's what you need to believe." Silence stretched between us, heavy and charged. I should have felt ashamed, but I didn't. Not entirely. A part of me had liked it more than I wanted to admit. I had felt powerful, desired, alive in a way I hadn't in months, but that realization only deepened the knot in my chest, the fear that I was losing myself to survive. "I have another proposition for you," he said, leaning against the headboard, his shirt still open, his expression unreadable. I glanced at him, wary. "What do you mean? You enjoyed this?" "I know you did. And there are men who'd pay good money for a woman like you." I stiffened, my breath catching. "You're joking?" "Not at all," he said, watching me closely, his eyes sharp, calculating. "You said you're out of options, but you don't have to be. You could turn this into something lucrative." My pulse quickened, a mix of disgust and curiosity swirling in my mind. "That's different. This was just..." I stopped, unable to find the words. Just what? A moment of weakness? A desperate act? Or something I had wanted deep down? Just what? His smirk deepened as if he could read my thoughts. "Just a favor. Just for fun." I turned away, my mind racing. I should have been repulsed, but I wasn't. He was right. I had enjoyed it. The thought of doing it again, of being wanted, of being in control, of making something out of nothing didn't seem impossible. It was a dangerous thought, one that threatened to pull me further from the person I used to be. "It's your choice," he said, standing and buttoning his shirt, his movements casual as if we were discussing a business deal. "You don't have to say yes, but if you do, I know 2 men who'd pay well for a night with you." A chill ran through me. Not just 1, 2. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. It should have been an easy no, but it wasn't. "How much?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His smirk widened, triumphant. "More than you've ever made in one night." I exhaled slowly, my pulse hammering in my ears. 1 night, 2 men. A choice that could change everything. I lifted my chin, meeting his gaze, and nodded. "All right, James." Lawson grinned, reaching for his phone. "Good girl. I'll make the call." The next evening, I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the tight, low-cut dress over my hips. James Lawson had chosen it along with a pair of heels that made my legs look longer, more elegant. The deep red fabric clung to my curves, revealing just enough to feel daring. I barely recognized myself. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted my hair, pinning it up to expose the curve of my neck. Why was I nervous? I had already made my choice. There was no turning back. "You look perfect, James," Lawson murmured from the doorway, his eyes roaming over me, slow and approving. "They'll love you." I exhaled through my nose, steadying myself. "Who are they?" "Friends. Generous ones," he said with a smirk, leaning against the doorframe. "Give them a good night, Emma, and you'll never have to worry about rent again." A knock at the door. My breath caught my heart lurching in my chest. They were here. "James?" Lawson's smirk deepened, his eyes glinting with amusement. "Showtime," he said, stepping aside. I turned toward the door, my heart pounding, and opened it. 2 men stood there, their eyes dark expressions, unreadable. The taller one was broad-shouldered with a confident air that filled the room. His dark hair was neatly styled, his suit tailored to perfection. The other was leaner, with sharp, observant eyes that seemed to see straight through me. His presence was quieter, more intense, like a predator assessing its prey. They were here for me. I led them into the room, my pulse racing each step, heavy with anticipation. My heels tapped softly against the floor, the air charged with unspoken energy. They followed closely, their presence enveloping me. 2 sets of eyes tracking my every move I had agreed to. I wanted this. Still a flicker of hesitation, mixed with a spark of excitement. A dangerous cocktail of emotions swirling inside me. The taller one reached for me first, his touch landing at my waist, firm and deliberate, his fingertips pressed lightly as if memorizing my curves. "You're even better than he said," he murmured, his voice low, smooth. The other lingered behind his breath, warm against my shoulder, sending a ripple down my spine. "Let's take care of this," he said, his fingers brushing the strap of my dress, teasing the fabric as he met my gaze in the mirror across the room. Slowly layers slipped away, the dress falling with ease. Their hands followed, exploring, appreciating as cool air kissed my skin. I reached forward, my fingertips tracing the firm lines beneath their clothes, testing their response. Their eyes never left me, watching, waiting. A slow exhale left my lips, and I let go of my hesitation. I wanted to give them what they were waiting for. I moved with intention, my fingers working through the closures of their belts, undoing each one at a measured pace. Feeling the tension beneath the layers, their breathing deepened, muscles shifting as I explored warmth radiating against my touch. A quiet sound escaped the taller man, a deep note of appreciation. He tilted my chin upward, meeting my gaze with something unreadable. Desire, curiosity, control. Just like that. He murmured, his voice smooth-edged with something darker. A familiar heat curled through me, exhilarating and dangerous, knees bent, movements deliberate. I lowered myself, fingers still wrapped around them both, warmth pressing against my skin. One hovered near my lips, a silent invitation. I leaned in, welcoming him, tasting the heat, tracing him with deliberate care. Above me he inhaled sharply, his fingers weaving through my hair, guiding me with the lightest touch. The leaner man wasn't forgotten. My other hand worked him with equal attention, teasing, drawing out each reaction, his breath hitched, his fingers brushing my jaw as he studied me, absorbed in every moment. Their combined presence, the quiet sounds they made, the tension winding through the space between us. It sent a deep warmth spreading through my stomach. "That's it," one of them murmured, his voice thick with satisfaction. The words sent another rush through me. They let me move at my own pace, letting me explore, letting me lose myself in them. Then the taller man shifted back slightly, clearing his throat as if regaining focus. "Come here," he said, his voice low, steady. "We're just getting started." I settled onto the mattress, my breath uneven, my body thrumming with anticipation. He positioned himself between my legs, his fingertips drawing slow circles along my inner thighs, heightening the tension. The leaner man moved beside me, his hand finding my chin, tilting my face toward him, his gaze locking onto mine with quiet intensity. "Let's see just how sweet you are." The taller one murmured, his voice deep laced with amusement. He lowered himself, his breath warm against my skin. The first flicker of sensation sent a shudder through me. A sharp gasp caught in my throat as his lips explored me, his touch slow, patient, deliberate. My fingers curled against the sheets, gripping them, as each movement sent another ripple of sensation through me. The leaner man leaned in, his mouth brushing against mine before deepening the kiss, his lips parting against mine. I welcomed him, letting his warmth consume me, muffling the sounds escaping my throat as pleasure built between us. They moved in perfect rhythm, one unravelling me with his mouth, the other drawing me deeper into the kiss, his fingers threading through my hair, keeping me close. "She's incredible," one of them murmured, his voice laced with admiration. I should have felt nervous, I should have hesitated. But I didn't. I wanted more. And they could see it. They moved me effortlessly, guiding me, shifting me into position as if they already knew what I needed. Now I was on all fours, my body still trembling, still buzzing from their touch. The leaner man who had been watching, waiting patiently, moved behind me, his hand steady on my waist, grounding me. "You ready for more?" he asked, his voice low, knowing I barely had time to respond, before he pressed forward a slow, measured pressure that sent a deep warmth spiraling through me. My breath hitched, my fingers tightening against the sheets as my body adjusted to him. He groaned softly, his grip securing me in place, his movements steady, deliberate, as if savouring every moment. The taller man moved in front of me, his fingers skimming my jaw, coaxing my gaze upward. "Let me feel you," he murmured. I parted my lips, welcoming him, the heat of him against me, the steady rhythm of his breath mixing with mine. "Just like that," he whispered, his thumb brushing along my cheek, his fingers tangling in my hair. They moved together, each guiding me, their rhythms syncing. One kept my body steady, the other kept my focus locked on him. A quiet moan escaped my throat, the vibrations making the man in front of me inhale sharply, his fingers flexing against my skin. Behind me, the leaner man shifted his pace, becoming fluid, drawing another gasp from me as warmth pooled deep within my core. You love this, don't you? One of them murmured, his voice teasing, knowing. I whimpered softly, my body betraying me the truth, evident in every movement, every sound I did. I loved every second of it. They weren't finished. They moved me again, lifting me, shifting me seamlessly into a new position, guiding me exactly where they wanted me. Now I was on top of the taller man, his hands firm on my hips, grounding me. His gaze met mine, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. Let me see how much you want this, he murmured, his grip tightening just enough to steady me. A slow breath escaped my lips as I sank onto him, a deep warmth building inside me. The stretch sent another shudder down my spine. His head fell back against the pillows, a quiet groan slipping from his lips as I moved against him. But behind me the leaner man wasn't done. I felt his touch first, teasing, testing his fingers, exploring the curve of my back, waiting for my reaction. A sharp breath left me, anticipation curling through my stomach. A flicker of hesitation, met with an even deeper sense of want. He leaned forward, his breath hot against my ear. Take your time, he murmured. I'll guide you through it. I exhaled my body, tensing, adjusting a slow, gradual acceptance as he pressed forward. The heat between us intensified, the moment stretching, bodies sinking in perfect rhythm. That's it, one of them groaned. Just like that. I wasn't sure who spoke. I was too lost in it, too overwhelmed by the way they moved with me, their touch, their breath, their bodies, keeping pace with mine. They worked in tandem, one steadying my hips, the other pressing closer, their movements precise, controlled. The pressure built, slowly spreading through me in waves, my breath coming faster as the sensation coiled tighter and tighter. You're incredible, one of them, murmured his voice, reverent, raw. Look at her. The other whispered, his fingers skimming my spine, making me shudder. I was completely lost in it. I couldn't hold back any more. The tension inside me coiled to its peak, a final deep pull that unraveled me completely, warmth crashing through my body in waves. A sharp inhale came from beneath me, his fingers pressing into my skin, his body tensing as his rhythm faltered. A low groan came from behind me, his grip steadying me as he let go, following right after. The moment stretched breathless and infinite, before fading into warmth. The room settled into silence. The only sound, the slowing rise and fall of our breaths. They left quietly their departure, as discreet as their arrival, leaving behind a thick envelope on the nightstand. I didn't touch it at first, my body still humming, my mind reeling. In the end, I never expected to enjoy it. I never expected to want more. But now I couldn't stop thinking about it. Chatham. The days that followed were a blur. The envelope contained more money than I had seen in months, enough to cover my back rent and keep me afloat. For a while, I paid James Lawson what I owed. His smirk as infuriating as ever when he accepted the cash. Told you it'd be worth it, he said, leaning against my door frame, his eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite place. I didn't respond, just closed the door, my hands shaking. I tried to return to normalcy. I picked up extra shifts at the cafe, applied for design jobs, even started sketching again, hoping to rekindle the passion that had once defined me. But the memory of that night lingered a shadow I couldn't shake. It wasn't just the money. It was the power, the control, the way I had felt alive, desired in a way I hadn't in years. I hated myself for wanting it again, for wondering if James Lawson would call with another offer. He did, a week later. Same deal, he said over the phone. His voice casual as if he were offering me a job at his office. Different guys, more money. I should have hung up. I should have blocked his number. Packed my bags and left the city. But I didn't. How much I asked my voice steady, despite the storm inside me. He chuckled. "Enough to change your life, Emma," I said. Yes. The second time was different. The men were older, less polished, their touches rougher, their expectations clearer. I performed the role detached, yet convincing. My mind drifting to the money, to the freedom it promised. But the thrill was gone, replaced by a hollow ache. When they left, I counted the cash more than the first time, and cried for the first time since it all began. Not out of shame, but because I felt myself slipping further from the woman I wanted to be. I started seeing a pattern. James Lawson would call every few weeks, each offer more lucrative, each encounter pushing me deeper into a world I hadn't chosen but couldn't seem to escape. I saved every penny, determined to use the money to rebuild my life. I enrolled in an online design course, updated my portfolio, and even landed a few small freelance gigs. But the money from those gigs felt different, cleaner, yes, but insufficient compared to the stacks of cash I earned in a single night. One evening, as I sat at my kitchen table sketching a logo for a client, my phone buzzed. It was James Lawson. "Big opportunity," he said, his voice dripping with promise. "A client who pays double. One night, Emma. You could walk away after this one." I stared at the sketch in front of me, the lines blurring as my eyes filled with tears. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice flat. "Does it matter?" he replied. "You're good at this. Better than you think." I hung up without answering, my hands trembling. For the first time I saw the truth. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was choosing this life piece by piece, night by night. And I wasn't sure I could stop. Months later, I sat in a new apartment one I had paid for with my own money. Money from freelance work, not from James Lawson's deals. It was smaller, simpler, but it was mine. My portfolio had grown, and I had secured a steady contract with a local startup designing their branding from scratch. The work was challenging, fulfilling a reminder of the woman I had once been, the woman I was fighting to become again. I hadn't spoken to James Lawson in weeks. The last time he called, I told him I was done. "You'll be back," he said, his voice smug. "Women like you always come back." But I didn't. I blocked his number, changed my locks and focused on rebuilding my life. The money I had saved from those nights became a safety net, a buffer that gave me the courage to say no. I started therapy too, unraveling the tangle of shame, power and desire that had defined those months. It wasn't easy. Some days I still felt the pull, the temptation to fall back into that world to chase the thrill and the cash. But I resisted one day at a time. One afternoon, as I walked home from a client meeting, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're stronger than you think. Emma. Don't forget it. No name, no context." But I knew it wasn't James Lawson. Maybe it was one of the men from those nights. Maybe someone who had seen me at my lowest and recognized the fight in me. Or maybe it was just a glitch. A random message from a stranger. I deleted it, but the words stayed with me. I never expected to end up in that world. I never expected to enjoy it, to crave it, to let it define me for a time. But I also never expected to find my way out, to rediscover the strength I thought I had lost. Now, as I sit at my desk sketching ideas for a new project, I know one thing for certain. I am more than the choices I made. and I will never let anyone, not James Lawson, not myself, tell me otherwise.